your existing and potential customers and the media at no cost. Newsjacking. Newsjacking is the art and science of injecting your ideas into a breaking story. Here's how it works. You understand how a story breaks. And every story breaks on a typical bell-shaped curve. If I were you, to quote Keith, I would take a picture of this. Every story breaks in a typical bell-shaped curve like this. And this, if you understand how a story breaks, and then you create a piece of content at the moment it's breaking, then you have the opportunity to reach people when they're interested in that particular topic and when they are most receptive to perhaps being interested in your product or service, and when the media is most interested in learning about this story. So Trent Silver is just like you. He's an entrepreneur. He's a young entrepreneur. He's 22 years old. And Trent Silver learned these ideas of newsjacking from me. And he contacted me a couple of different times to share with me his results. He goes, David, oh my God, check it out. Check out what I did. So Trent's business is called Cash for Purses. What Trent Silver does is he buys people's used handbags on eBay, through the web. And then he sells them on eBay. He also sells them through boutiques, physical boutiques. His biggest challenge, he told me, is how can he get more stock? How can he get more bags to sell? So he does newsjacking, which he learned from me. So newsjacking, what he told me, I said, Trent, tell me an example. What'd you do? And he goes, oh yeah, you remember Lindsay Lohan was having money troubles? You guys remember that, right? Lindsay Lohan was having money troubles. So you'll see all these stories popping up about Lindsay Lohan being broke. She does not getting any more movie deals. She doesn't have any money. And you see there on the left, she's actually got a handbag over her shoulder. So Trent offered to buy Lindsay Lohan's used handbags. And he did that by pushing out a blog post and contacting members of the media. And here are some of the results of what Trent received as a result of doing that. Here's Radar Online. And it says, we'll buy your purses, Lindsay. Company offers big money for cash-strapped Lohan's leftovers. With a link to Trent's business, with a link to Cash for Purses. Here's another one. Check this out. Huffington Post. And it says, Lindsay Lohan offered money for used handbags by fundraising company. With a link to Trent's business, with a link to Cash for Purses. Here's another one. Here's Bazinga. Cash for Purses with a link to Cash for Purses. Here's another one. This is my favorite headline. Lindsay Lohan's purses may be the key to her financial freedom. Is that awesome or what? Yeah. So how many of you would love to have this kind of media exposure with people pointing to you? Yeah? Let me hear you. Would you like that? No kidding, right? Wouldn't that be awesome? Here are the results Trent shared with me. He spent $0 on this. Newsjacking is free. He had 8,000 online inquiries, and he had a 19% conversion rate. He generated $250,000, $250,000, just by linking his business. Is that not freaking? David taught me his breakthrough concepts of newsjacking as I would grow my Cash for Purses business from literally 0 to over 8,000 customers in a little over 6 weeks. This resulted in a 6-figure revenue in a very short time, as well as media and venture capital attention. Trent learned these ideas from me. There is no question Trent is just like you, that you can achieve a similar success. You can. There's no question. This idea of newsjacking is pretty simple to learn. Understand the news cycle, create the content at the precise moment that people are ready, and you too can achieve a similar success. I love trying to link this idea of newsjacking with what's going on in presidential politics, because you see a lot of newsjacking going on in presidential politics. It's really, really, really interesting. Here's a couple of examples I found. This is Maple Match. They're an online dating site. And it says, Maple Match makes it easy for Americans to find the ideal Canadian partner to save them from the unfathomable horror of a Trump presidency. Was that freaking awesome or what? And here's somebody who actually tweeted it. And she said, call me a humanitarian, I'm going to save an American. Make people nice. And what's great about this, the whole concept of newsjacking, is then the media picks up on it. So here's a media publication, Maple Match, a dating sites for Americans seeking refuge from Trump in Canada. Is this not great? And here's Us Magazine, new dating site Maple Match hooks up Americans looking to flee Donald Trump presidency with Canadian love. Awesome, right? Who would like to achieve these sorts of success? The idea of Us Weekly or whatever publication, right? Absolutely. I would like to do that too. This is the concept of newsjacking. So here's a cool one. I love this one. This is on the Hillary Clinton website. You can Trump yourself on the Hillary Clinton website. This is her real website. And there's a button there you can Trump yourself. Right? See that button right there on the right? So I did it. I wanted to Trump myself. He actually generates insults that you can put on your social networking feed, right? So I learned I'm a very low energy kind of guy, right? That's cool. I'm going to push that on my social feed. Oh, I'm a hater and a loser too, right? That's awesome. And Hillary Clinton's website is pushing that out. That's the idea of newsjacking. The idea of the art and science of injecting your ideas into a breaking news story. Here's another example from presidential politics. Donald Trump a couple of times has talked about Hillary Clinton in this way. Here's a tweet he sent. If Hillary Clinton thinks she can unleash her husband with his terrible record of women abuse while playing the women's card on me, she's wrong. And then a little bit after he sent that, in a speech, he said, if Hillary Clinton were a man, I don't think she'd get 5% of the vote. The only thing she's got going is the women's card. And then Hillary Clinton, in a speech the same day, newsjacked Donald Trump. She said, if Mr. Trump accused me of playing the women card. If fighting for women's health care, paid family leave, and equal pay is playing the women card, then deal me in. And then Zach, on Kickstarter, made women cards. And he generated $128,000 by doing that. What do you have to say about that $128,000 by making some decks of cards? Oh my God.
Let's go, girls.
Is that great? Concept of newsjacking. You can do the same thing. Here's another example of somebody who learned these ideas because they learned them just like you're learning them now. Norton. They're an antivirus software. Yes, it can be used in B2B. Yes, you can do it too. And they use this concept of newsjacking. So here's an example of what they did. They learned that Justin Bieber was launching a new record single. So what did they do? As soon as the single came out, on their social networks, on the Norton Symantec social networks, remember, this is an important B2B company. They provide antivirus software. This is serious stuff. On their social networks, they said, alert! If someone sends you a link to download the latest Bieber single, don't do it. It's a link to download the latest Bieber single.
Is it too late now to say sorry? 'Cause I'm missing more than just your body. Oh.
And here are the results. Here are the results of this one. It cost them $0. And they had an 18% increase in online sales in the 48 hours after the tweet. That's freaking awesome. And there's no question in my mind you can achieve a similar success. The reason I keep saying that is because these people I'm sharing, every time I say you can achieve a similar success, are people who learn these ideas just like you're learning them. People who went through the program, learn these ideas from me, and are implementing them and achieving amazing success. This is powerful because you're aligning with the ways that people buy. You're also aligning with the media. When the media is interested and reporters are interested in a story, if you align with them, but it requires that you have to do it in real time. It has to be instant. Which brings me to Mitch Jackson. Mitch is watching us right now. We're actually streaming this on Facebook Live. Hey, Mitch, how's it going? So if you want to say hello to Mitch Jackson, his Twitter ID is Mitch Jackson. Mitch Jackson is a lawyer at Jackson and Wilson. He is a fantastic newsjacking ninja. He's wonderful at it. He's a lawyer. What does he do? He comments on the legal aspects of what's going on in the news, and then that drives business to him. So here's some examples of the sorts of things that he does. Now, he's specifically focuses on wrongful death, but he does other types of law work. And he's wonderful on Twitter. He's a lawyer with 25,000 followers on Twitter. That's pretty awesome just in itself. But here's one he did. Did Kanye West and/or Kim Kardashian break the law by recording Taylor Swift's phone call without her consent? Now, what's interesting, by doing this, two things happen. Members of the media who are writing about this story, oh, here's someone who has the legal perspective. I should contact this person. Or they maybe even pick up a quote directly out of the blog post. When Melania Trump was accused of plagiarizing Michelle Obama's speech at her Republican National Convention speech, right after that happened, Mitch Jackson put out a blog post. What is plagiarism? How to find out if someone is stealing your original work. Unbelievably great newsjacking. The media who are writing a story about Melania Trump want to know the legal ramifications of plagiarism. They can learn about it directly from Mitch. And so here's what I found when I did a search on wrongful deaths in orange counties in Southern California. He pops up at the very top. Here's the results that Mitch shared with me. He said, newsjacking has allowed our Southern California law firm to expand its sphere of influence from local to global. Clients have come to us because our newsjacking retained us. In several cases, we were able to generate multi-million-dollar settlements for those clients. That's awesome. Generating clients and then making multi-million-dollar settlements for those clients by newsjacking. Well done, Mitch. I'm looking at you. There is no question in my mind you can achieve a similar success.
I can achieve similar success.
You can, because that's the idea that we're talking about here. Mitch and others have done exactly this, and it's been growing their business. We're not talking about social media. I'm not here to talk about social media. I'm here to talk about a real-time mindset. Are you ready when the time is right? Are you ready at the moment that news breaks? But you need to be careful out there. You need to be cautious. And there's a few things you need to be thinking about. First of all, don't try to specifically sell on the back of newsjacking, because people don't really like that. It's better to just share an idea, get noticed, but don't actually sell. Here's an example that is really, it's kind of fun, but it's an example of how you should not sell. Again, my merging of newsjacking and presidential politics. Ivanka Trump introduced her father at his Republican National Convention speech. When she was walking off the stage, she tweeted this: "Shop Ivanka's look" from her RNC speech. And it linked to Macy's, where you could actually buy that outfit. And people on social media, and me and others, like, what? You don't actually sell that way. It's a little bit unseemly, isn't it? So Paulo says, where can I get your dad's thick tan? That's kind of awesome, isn't it? And I went to Macy's, and the dress has 1 star, right? And it's like, that's kind of lame. So don't sell. Instead, add value. Here's the second thing you need to think about, and this is really important. Newsjacking can be incredibly incredibly dangerous in any story that has a negative connotation. So, any story that has death or destruction or has a very negative connotation, you need to be very, very careful of. So we're going to have a little game here. It's actually really fun. The fact that Prince died is not fun at all, but this is the example we're going to do right now. So you remember a couple of months ago, sadly, we lost Prince. And there were a number of organizations that used this as an opportunity to do some newsjacking. So what I'd like to do is ask your opinion on each of them. I'm going to pop it up, talk about it for just a second, and then I'm going to ask you to either clap if you think it's a good example of newsjacking. So let's just practice. It's a good newsjacking. All right. Great. And then if you think it's a bad example, it doesn't feel right to you, we're going to boo. Let's everybody boo. Awesome. Okay, that's how we're going to do it. So here's the first one. The first one is, this is CNN's Twitter feed. And a reporter from CNN happened to be on a Delta Airlines flight. And they were flying into Minneapolis, into Minnesota. Now remember, Prince is from Minnesota. And then as they were coming into land, they actually shaded the cabin purple. What do we think, a clap or a boo? Look at that, and almost all of us are clapping. That's pretty awesome because we're in agreement on that. I totally agree with you there. How about this one, NASA? A purple nebula in honor of Prince who passed away today. Yeah, I think most of us are clapping. I'm certainly clapping. I think that's really, really cool. How about this one? Cheerios, hashtag Prince. Rest in peace. What do we think? Let's do it again. Yeah, a couple of claps, okay, a couple of claps, but a lot of boos. What is it about this? The Cheerio, right? The Cheerio. By putting that Cheerio in there, it becomes selling. So I would agree with that one. That was one I saw and I said, wow, that's a little bit funky. I would agree with that one. Hey, Prince. Hey, guys, Prince died. But please don't forget about Cheerios. This is my favorite tweet that resulted from this. Check this one out. Dear Universe, please return Prince and take the Chief Marketing Officer of Cheerios instead. That's pretty great, right? So here's another one. What do we think of this one? Oh, actually, before we do that, somebody said, hey, you're not going to apologize for your tweet, Cheerios? And they actually did. They apologized. They said, Minnesota brand Cheerios wanted to acknowledge the loss of our musical legend in our hometown, but we quickly decided that we didn't want the tweet to be misinterpreted and removing it out of respect for Prince and those who are mourning. So, okay, they apologized and they removed it, but the damage had been done. Here's the Wall Street Journal. They talked about it. Here's Fox News. They talked about it. So how about this one? I am now wiping sweat off of my brow. This is meta. I'm going to warn you, this is meta. Okay? David Meerman Scott, the guy who talks about newsjacking, is now on his blog newsjacking Prince's death by talking about how you shouldn't you shouldn't do newsjacking in a negative way over Prince's death. Get it? Okay, what do we think? Clapping or booing? You can boo if you want to. Okay, now he's wiping the sweat off his brow again. Thank you for mostly clapping. I think there were a few people who were booing. I was freaky before I sent this blog post. I'm like, is this going to go over well? Because I'm the guy who founded newsjacking. I'm the guy who's telling everyone to do newsjacking. And now I have an opportunity to use this as a way to educate people on how not to newsjack. But by doing so, I'm doing what I'm telling people not to do, which is newsjack the story of Prince's death. Oh my God, what do I do? What do I do? Help! And I close my eyes and I push the button. And I was actually really scared that I was going to screw it all up. But thank you for clapping. I didn't get any negative comments. I got a lot of positive comments for it. But I was really kind of freaky about it. And that might happen to you. And you know what? If you're freaky about it, you think it might be a problem, I'd recommend you not push the button. Because you don't want to get in trouble. How about this one? 3M. What do we think? Lower clap. I'm hearing mixed. That's very, very interesting. So that's a mixed one. Okay, that's interesting. That's mixed. How about this Maker's Mark whiskey? Almost all booze. Now here's something pretty interesting that you may not know. Maker's Mark. You know Prince was strongly against consuming alcohol, right? Does that change your mind? Those of you who might have clapped. Let's do it again once more for this one. Okay, almost everybody. And this guy says Prince didn't drink, plus you're trying to profit from his death. Epic fail. However, if your company has a legitimate tie to the story, it may be okay to do this. So here's an example of an organization that, you tell me, might have a legitimate tie to the story. So we're going to clap or boo on this one when I pop it up. But let me give you some context. One of Prince's most famous songs, in the back, one of Prince's most famous songs is called Little Red Corvette. Chevrolet makes the Corvette. This is what they put out. Maybe that was much too fast, 1958, 2006. What do we think? I think that's right. Yeah, I agree. I think that's right. I think that is something where there's a legitimate tie to the story. All right, great. So we've just talked about this concept of newsjacking. Newsjacking is the art and